I don't know if you guys know each other, so maybe we get to hear a little bit about her and you guys share your backgrounds as well.
Sure. I'm Mandy. I have two kids, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and go to school with her kid. I moved here from Austin about 2 years ago, and I'm originally from Connecticut, and I have a background in event planning, but now I work for a technology company remotely. So something that I can do remotely and work from home. And I love living in Port Aransas, so I'm gonna stay here a long time, I feel like.
Great.
Yeah,
And are you related to the Arnolds that are here?
yeah, so Ted Arnold is my husband's uncle. Who owns the board shop.
Oh.
Mhm. Yeah, right. Are there other Arnolds?
Yeah, there's the,
Oh, he's Nicholson, Ted Nicholson.
yeah,
Board shop, yeah.
That's
So
right.
then, no, I don't think there's any
there's
Arnolds here.
Arnolds that have the, well, did they start the HVAC business, $10? Is it
I
that?
don't know, no, not them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Related, but
Ted
not
is
with the
your
last name.
That
husband's-
is my husband's uncle, yeah.
Really? Yeah, he's good.
Mhm. Yeah, he is. Yep. How about you guys?
Tamara Ball. We moved here a couple years ago, be 2 years in July, from St. Johnson City, west of Austin, where I had taught school at San Antonio Christian for 21 years and was principal there for 10. And my wife and I ran children's camps for about 15 years
Oh.
before that. Spent 6 years working with kids in the projects in Chicago. We moved up there from here, but 6 years up in that area was enough. Moved back. Undergraduate degrees in environmental science, master's in education and recreation, and doctorate in theology. Married, 2 boys, 9 grandkids, range from 4 to 26.
You got a full
Hopefully
life.
that's
Lots
the
of
end.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
geez.
good
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, Andy.
Cliff Strain, I'm currently the director of Port Aransas Preservation Historical Association. And I've been here for 45 years. I've been a boatman for 43 years, that, with a license. for
It's boat.
Captain.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Port Aransas Boatman Association, which has been a big part of this town since 1932. And we did deep sea roundup, which used to be the Tarpon Rodeo. And I've involved in a few other things. I've got a degree in biology and done some graduate work and worked with a scientist on and off at UTMSI. Which is the reason why I came here, was to do some graduate work at the university and still do stuff. Ken Dutton up in the Arctic where he is right now, but haven't done that for a few years since COVID kind of enabled tribal politics up there to kind of exclude us for a while. We're just starting to get back. And I have 2 daughters, and my wife actually lives in Kerrville. We have a house up there, and she didn't want to be here after Hurricane Harvey. And I have twin daughters that are about to be 27. One is in Austin in her 4th year of teaching. They're actually working on her 5th year. And my other daughter, Kay, is getting her PhD in evolutionary ecology next month, in about 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah. So, pretty
Sorry.
excited about
Don't
that.
be, okay.
No, it's not okay.
Hello.
Thank you.
Well, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
I'd let Cliff start the meeting without you,
Great.
but we're just doing introductions, so.
So it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Mandy.
I'm Andy. I'm John Crumpets.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
They gave a little bit of background info if you wanted to fill her in on, maybe why you're here.
Oh, when we moved here, obviously, one of the reasons is my dad was a city attorney, city manager, small town I grew up in, and so I've been around, but he was a mayor, councilman, manager. So it was, he always said, if you really want to get to know folks in a city and become part of it, start going to council meetings. So I did. I remember you getting up and giving a presentation about the plastic bag issue. I
Yeah,
believe that was, yeah.
that was
And
over
so-
a decade ago.
And I'm a teacher and a coach, and my wife and I had a child care center for many years before we moved here. So it was just kind of a natural to get into the Parks and Rec, and I do some volunteer work for the schools in their Camp Marlin program.
Oh, nice.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Hey,
We have a really great team. I'm so appreciative that you all are taking your time to be here. It's important to have a board to help make big decisions and look at things from different perspectives, and so I just truly appreciate you being here. I guess I'll tell you a little bit. I've been the park director for 7 years. I started out as the nature preserve manager before that. I have a marine science degree and a master's in curriculum and instruction. And I feel like up until this point, it's pretty much been Hurricane Harvey recovery, and we're at the cusp of being done with that and moving on to new great things. So this is an exciting time for you to join the board, because we've got a brand new park, we've got a major playground overhaul, and we have a rec center coming down the pike. So it's a good time to be here.
Did you start right when Harvey hit?
A little bit before. Yeah, I started in 2016 and then I've been 17.
You
It's
must
enough
be
time for
excited
me
to
to
be back
learn
in
all
it
the
too.
things about the old place and then it become a totally new place.
Yeah.
But I worked at the Marine Science Institute for 5 years before I worked for the city, so that's what brought me to Texas. I grew up in Ohio and went to college in South Carolina and moved up around the East Coast after college at different environmental education facilities. And then came down here from Rhode Island, Cleveland.
So we're up in Kettering. It's pretty
Oh,
close.
wow. I did a marching band competition there.
Oh, yeah?
We had a
You went?
really big, oh yeah, we were the best. We had a really good marching band in my high school, so I was a band geek.
What'd you play?
Clarinets.
Played trumpet for 6 years.
All those reeds.
Yeah.
So gross, yeah. I picked up a clarinet that my niece had, like, I don't know, it was probably 10 years ago now, and I couldn't make a noise on it. I had like lost the ability to play. All right, you want to keep the meeting rolling?
Sure. I can take over now.
Okay. You're back in charge.
Okay, so
We just did.
citizens' comments
Yeah.
and reports.
I'm surprised that a few people didn't come, and I encouraged.
I thought this would be the meeting to have folks, but maybe because we solicited online feedback, they felt they didn't need to.
I think so, and I think they got some of your feedback from your article.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
you know, I know Matthews backed off a little bit, hoping that at least the pavilion would be after.
Well, it'll be a good discussion. That's later on in our
Yeah.
agenda. We
I saw
can
it.
really dive into it, and there's a handout about it as well.
All right, next, Colleen, director report.
Yeah, so this one, I'm sorry, it doesn't have any pictures except a beautiful flyer at the end. There it is. It was kind of put together in a hurry, so, the first section, capital projects, lots have been accomplished. We're still waiting on the van. For youth programs, the rec center status is, the design team came down and did a site visit to look at our current existing facilities and see how a new facility will fit within that footprint. They're discussing that. The topic of the condition of the pool and our aquatics facilities came up while that site visit took place. We kind of need to know, do we plan around our existing structures? Can we move existing structures? Is the stuff that we currently have good enough to move? And so they sent in a pool expert and he did an audit of everything that we have. And we knew that there was some things, the pool was built in around 93 or 94, so some of that equipment is original to when it was first built, and is seeing the end of its lifespan. So we're gonna have an official recommendation from that auditor. But there was some big ticket items like the sand filters and a wheelchair lift and
We don't have a wheelchair lift.
we don't have, we used to have one and then we didn't have one and we were told that the beach entry was sufficient for ADA, but the auditor said the slope of the beach entry may have been within code at one time, but it's too steep now, so we need to get a chairlift back.
Those aren't too expensive.
No, well, like $5,000. It'll be a capital outlay.
Cause I know a lot of, hotels,
Yeah, it's a requirement. You have to have an ADA access to the pool. So if our beach slope doesn't count. we can fund. So there's a whole laundry list of things. So like the PVC being Schedule 40 should be upgraded to Schedule 80. Our pool fence is out of compliance. We've been grandfathered in because we've had it, but there's a lot of things that will need to be upgraded. So hopefully I can get a full scope of what all that stuff's gonna cost before our budget meetings start at council, so that I can go prepared to those meetings to make the changes necessary. But the silver lining of it is probably that the equipment is going to need to be upgraded. So in doing that, you're already replumbing a lot of it, and it could probably be moved if needed one way or the other for a rec center footprint. So if we want to have the rec center hugging the pool, there's some play in where the pump room could be.
But we're not talking about moving the pool. So,
No, that would be.
good.
I was confused.
But
by
it's
that
gonna be
too.
very
Sorry,
expensive.
in my head, it was making sense, the equipment room. I'm just talking about the filtration, the pumps,
That makes sense.
heating, chiller, all those things. The other thing that's going on with the rec center is that the sewer is gonna be redone. Right now, we operate off of a lift station that is less than ideal when it fails, especially. So we're gonna get tied into a real sewer line, which is a huge perk. It'll be able to handle the capacity of a rec center, but it also will take the old lift station offline, and so that can be removed, and then there's even more real estate to play around with the location of all the equipment. So we're waiting. I'm hoping to see drawings from the architect soon on their initial layout. They've been working from a spreadsheet of all the spaces that we're asking for and the square footage of them. So I think they're piecing together where it should go on the property and what all the spaces look like together. So as soon as I get that, I will share it with you. I'm not gonna read it word for word. I'm just gonna point out the highlights. The Roberts Point Park Playground, number 5, it's delayed. So the engineering, it was slower than anticipated. Getting a contract together with the playground fabricators was slower than anticipated. They are hoping that the worst case scenario completion will be December now. So
December.
it's way further back than I had hoped, but we also really want to make sure that it's right. And so we've had to go back to the fabricators out of either Norway or Finland. I think it's Finland, lab set out Finland. And we asked them for a big design change, and so it's
How
going
can we have to
slower.
go so far
Yeah,
to get playground equipment fabricated?
They're the fabricator that Craftsman works with and recommends. They like the quality of them and they stand behind their products, and it's top-notch stuff. And so they use a wood material that's engineered, so they cut it a certain way and then laminate it back together so that it doesn't warp. It's treated with mold and insect resistance, healthy. I don't want to call it chemicals because it's supposed to be something that's not dangerous to children, but they treat it so that it'll be pest and mold resistant, and it's just the best of the best. So like I said, I wanna have a playground out there that's iconic, that's inclusive, that lasts for a long time, and so unfortunately, it's not something that could be expedited as much as I wanted it to be done by spring break, obviously.
Do you have pictures?
There is a rendering of what the main feature will look like, and there are some preliminary, footprint landscapes, so it's gonna have hills within it. So I think just a hill in Port Aransas is something fun, and then there will be playground equipment on top of that, so it's not an agenda item, and I didn't prepare it for you, but I can share some initial stuff, if you come see me or after me. Keep rolling, everything's complete. Shaded Dog Park, I've been waiting for the rec center to officially have a location before I do anything anywhere else. Because if it for some reason was to impact the entrance or the driveway, or I don't want to put new shade structures out before I know exactly where this building's gonna go.
Well, if it doesn't matter, I would suggest that you consider doing the shade structure close to the one that's there, just because of the simple fact that that just gets so much traffic that it's really hard to keep things growing there. And then you guys
Yeah.
reshot it, it was completely shot, and it's almost back to that condition, partially because of there's been a gopher having his way here recently.
I heard there were a bunch of holes. Julie Finley sent me pictures of a dog park where they were visiting, and I took some serious notes. They had a bigger concrete like entrance right where the gates were. They had a huge, beautiful shade structure, and they had a cool tunnel that they made, like they had a drainage culvert and they mounted dirt up over it. So it's a really cool feature that is probably pretty low cost and easy to do. So I've got some ideas, but I was thinking the new shade would completely replace the one that's out there.
And I don't know if it was Julie that told me, or somebody told me they were talking to somebody that was willing to donate a bunch of money to make it bigger. And that, I don't really think you can, that particular park can go much
We
bigger.
start
than
to get into the
footprint.
wetlands, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure about expanding permitting. If it was less than 1/10 of an acre, you don't need a permit, but then that's less than 1/10 of an acre. I don't know if it's worth expanding. We'll have
Yeah.
to look at it.
Yeah,
The other-
or maybe we can talk to whoever it is about when we do the park out on Park Road. Because
Yeah.
we talked about doing some kind of dog road.
Yeah. All right, holidays are past, surf rescue, David told me that once the fire station is underway, he said he needs about 6 months and then surf rescue can start, so it's still in the plans, we're just waiting for it to be the right time with all the other development happening on that 9th Street block.
I saw the truck be towed in with the,
I saw that one is going away, so that's being decommissioned. The yellow truck is done. Beyond repair. Unfortunately, those trucks do not last long on the beach. But we switched to this enterprise fleet management, and so we won't have that situation again. They're gonna cycle out vehicles every 3 or 4 years. So we won't get stuck with old stinkers anymore. It's a pretty cool system. Hopefully they don't back out. I think once they realize what the condition of the vehicles, I don't know, we'll see, hopefully they stick with it. Cause I think it is a good move for us. I talked to you already about the playground,
What's this new tower number 3 complete?
surf rescue for
Oh,
tower at
it's-
Marker
sorry.
Street,
Okay.
yep. Skimming. Pool's got, other than the equipment issues that the auditor brought up, there's an issue with the beach entry surface. It cracked and we don't know if it was the fact that it's wet and dry within the same surface, so that beach entry is a pebble coating and it's plaster based, and so we've heard from local pool installers that you shouldn't have a plaster based material wet and dry all the time, but like the.
Yeah,
So they were recommending that we retile it. Well, we contacted the company that was a commercial pool company that did that job, and that they said tile will be even worse with the expansion and the
Sure,
heating and cooling. So, for the time being, we are scraping up the stuff that's popped and we're patching it as a temporary fix. And then we're gonna investigate a little bit more about what the real solution needs to be, but, it's a little bit messy at the shallow end of the pool right now, and it's because of this pebble tech surfacing. So we're troubleshooting that right now. If I skim over anything that you want to talk about, please let me know, but I just don't want to read word for word.
yeah, we can go through this.
The big news in the nature preserve is that the contract was awarded to Shirley and Sons for the North Trail, and they had the pre-construction meeting today, so that they should be mobilizing within a week. And that last trail in the nature preserve that we lost from Harvey will finally be reconstructed. So I'm excited that that's underway, and they have to finish that by November because the whooping cranes return, so they have a tight timeline there.
Are there open cranes gone?
Yeah, they've left for the season, yeah. Surf rescue, we have an interim surf rescue manager, Joey Farah. He's been on the beach with us for several years. He's doing a great job as interim, and we'll probably make a final decision about that open position real soon, within the next week or two.
He doesn't want to stay.
No, he's interested and he's doing a good job.
Okay.
So we've gotten a couple other applicants. So we need to make a final decision. I think I told him that we'd make that call when he started by this week. So I'm hoping to
Another one of my
solidify that.
students.
And what's that?
Another one of my students.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I did teach for 29 years, fifth and sixth grade in Flower Bluff.
So we also brought in, we promoted Kate Martin to a head guard position. She's filling the role of Ford Blaylock right now. He's on military leave. And so, with Joey going from head guard to interim manager and Ford being on military leave, she came in, she was only interested in doing it on a part-time basis. So we made the position part-time for her. And then we'll see when Ford returns in June. If there's still a position available, we'll see if she wants to take it full-time or not. They're gearing up for their rookie school before the summer starts. They have 6 spots filled in that rookie school right now. They're anticipating 10 guards returning, so I think our count is up to somewhere around 25 right now. And we're hoping for 30. That's our goal for hiring this season. We want full towers. Summer camp registration opened at midnight because of the way our software works, and by like 10 a.m. the next morning, it was totally full except for 2 weeks had a couple of spots left, but it filled up so fast. It was incredible. So I think it's a really important service that we're providing to the community, childcare basically during the, school vacation. So when we have our own facility, we might want to look at expanding. We usually take off the week of 4th of July because town is always so crazy, but maybe we think about providing, childcare for the locals who are staying here, and think about expanding the amount of spots we have. We're at 50 spots per camp right now because of our staffing. We feel like that was the appropriate number of kids to take, but if we could hire more staff, we might be able to accommodate more. The school where we host, Elson Elementary, they're redoing their kitchen. There's real serious work going on this summer, so they're locking the kitchen door. And so we lose the ability to prep breakfast and keep things cold, and so we're troubleshooting how we're gonna navigate around no access to the kitchen right now. The school's trying to work with us and figuring out how we're gonna do that, because we provide breakfast and snack, which has like milk and cheese and fruits and a need for a kitchen sink.
Wonder if one of the-
Refrigerator.
What about one of these, there's 2 or 3 restaurants that have a food truck. Yeah,
That's a creative idea. The kids would probably love it.
yeah, not necessarily that you hire them to do the
Just
food,
park it in the parking lot.
but maybe be able to utilize some of the facilities they have in the.
I was even thinking like the teacher's break room, like they don't need huge capacity. They need to be able to wash the knife and the cutting board that they use. They need to be able to keep the milk cold, stuff like that. So we're, yeah, we're
Teachers' lounge would
figuring
probably
out
And maybe even the science lab.
something with a rolling cart to get stuff to their area a little easier. We gotta sort it out soon. It's coming up fast. Birding club is going well. They're doing 2 different youth birding competitions, the Big Sit and the Sunrise to Noon events. It's good to see that club active again.
Who's running?
Julie Finley, Joan Holt, and Ray are kind of all helping. And there's other people, I think, Paula Baker steps in and helps, Leslie, I don't know why forgive me, her last name is escaping me right now, Ray Delahuntty and Leslie. I can't remember her last name at the moment, but yeah, big time birder. She leads our Wednesday birding walk every week.
Great.
I'm just sleep deprived.
Yeah, there's the-
And then, the community programs, I included the summer lineup. This is the ad for the visitor guide in the South Jetty. Christy, was in an accident and she has to have a procedure done, so she's gonna be out for 2 weeks and then she'll be back. So
Is she, otherwise he's doing better.
as far as I know. Yeah. Any
I
questions?
missed that. How's Christie?
She's doing okay. So she had her procedure, it went well, and should be back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's the plan anyways. It's hard to operate without her, so. I need her to recover quickly and get back. She had a arthroscopic procedure on her knee, so it's not too severe.
Oh, good. And when the pool goes to 6 on Memorial Day, can catch it.
Yeah,
I haven't been there since it went to 5.
well, other than the beach entry crumbling, they have a robot vacuum that goes every night and it looks beautiful over there. I mean,
Very cool.
Adam's doing a great job. He's got a good team. He's got some new members over there too. He's got Adam Johnson's pool manager, Christina Wren's assistant pool manager. He just brought in a guy named Wade, who is a retired teacher and coach. And he also has a lady named Lindy who came from the Aransas Pass Aquatic Center and has a ton of experience. So there's like a dream team of leaders over there right now, who really have a lot of experience in nursing and education and coaching and aquatics, and they've got a good crew of serious professionals over there, so they're in good shape, but they need a lot of seasonal guards. So we are trying to hire for camp counselors, pool lifeguards, and beach lifeguards right now. If you know anybody who's interested in working with kids or being on the beach or at the pool this summer, spread the word.
And since I was talking about this the other day, I thought I'd ask, what about the sails? And sailing, are you guys gonna try?
We
to
have
pick up-
them,
You have the sails?
we do.
Oh, very good. Are you all,
Dan Pecor helped us with what we needed.
oh, very good.
We need a leader of the activity.
I wonder, Dan might, it would be a perfect person for that. And I bet you Pam would help.
Maybe
I mean, talk to them.
let Christy come back and let's see where it fits in the schedule first.
Okay.
But yes, they do need to get used because I hate that they haven't been.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about you know, how they learned on like a sunfish or. Want to mention that the city had some, it was very interesting. Auctioning off that one day sailor. Grateful for it.
Thank you. I feel like, you know, it's the place to stick that.
All right. Thank you, Colleen. Next on the agenda is
We might be able to.
take action on the pass any of the following, discuss and take action on advisory board meeting minutes from February the 5th.
I think they're attached to the back of your
Yeah,
agenda.
a question on the city council members absent. So Sheree and Bob are not on the board any longer, are they?
Well, because they're listed in the roll calls. It's above what I can change to the program and they haven't been taken off. So
Okay.
that's why we have to list them as absent. But yeah, they're not listed as board members, but they're still listed as part of this board, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it shouldn't say city council even.
Yeah, all of those aren't members anymore. Oh, yeah, weird.
But I'll get that, I'll get those. We're working on changing that up.
Motion to approve with a correction to the. But,
Board member,
what's it called, attendance.
Okay,
I need a coffee.
second,
almost. I'll second.
thank you. All right, next item is the discussion of naming options for the community center park.
So you have a handout. This was so exciting to see. We put out a call for nominations. I was inspired by Dr. McKinney's naming of their performing arts building. They called for nominations and then they had a great, you know, response. And so I was like, well, let's do the same thing for this park because I've been bugging people to come up with a name because I'm tired of calling it the community center park or the neighborhood park or just whatever
Yeah,
everyone refers to it in the moment. I was like, let's get an official name going. So we had 307 submissions to that call for nominations, and that doesn't count the emails that I got and the comments I got from the public and just meeting with people. So people really felt excited at this opportunity to name something. And the response, I was really impressed with. I did not expect to have over 300 responses. So in this handout, I started out by just listing some background information on other ways people choose names for parks. So it could have something to do with the natural or geographic feature, think Red Rocks Amphitheater. It could have something to do with a historic event, like Gettysburg Battlefield or something like that. It could be a common usage identifying neighborhood. So Central Park or yeah, that's a first example I could think of. It could go in honor of outstanding individual or group, civic organization, something like that. Or it could go to benefit like a donor. So somebody, you know, donates $1 million and then it becomes the
Like that.
Cliff Strain Park, whatever, yeah. So I wanted us to be thinking big picture. And I took the list of 300 submissions and consolidated it into this list of about 50. When names were submitted that were similar, I grouped them together. Our task today is to choose 3 names that we then recommend to City Council for consideration. They don't have to pick anything that we say. We don't have to pick word for word anything on this list. But we're tasked with giving them 3 good options. Hopefully they like them and will choose one. But these are the names that were suggested from the community. There was a little bit of campaigning that went on. There's some family names that were more popular than others. And so I saw social media posts saying, you know, go and vote for this name. And so, I don't want that to sway you. I want you to choose the name that you really feel is, or the names that you truly feel are a good fit because of, you know, these first 5 bullet points here. Like, is it relevant? Does it fit? Is it long lasting? This wasn't a vote or a popularity contest. This was just a call for nominations. So there were definitely some compelling stories shared, and I think the Matthews family was probably the strongest campaigned for. I put in there how many people suggested that 165 out of these 300 were
Who are they?
related to the Matthews family.
What's his name?
So good thing Cliff is on our board. I was hoping he'd help us with the historical.
So there's some
names.
great historical ones, and there's a couple that pop out at me, yeah, I could pick 3 right now without even looking, but, don't let me sway you, but, what the first one was Gail Borden. I look at the names of people that had great historic importance, but don't have a street or don't have anything really
Sure.
named after them.
Yeah,
Gail Borden Munsell Park is kind of an interesting one because he did so much for this town, but nobody even knows who he is, for the most part. A lot of people don't, except for his relatives and some of the historic families here, because he basically helped completely rebuild the town after the 1919 hurricane, which did a lot more damage than there's about 8 houses left. Built the infrastructure back, he built the water system, the new telephone company, because the old one's destroyed. Electric generation plant and ice plant combined on Avenue C. And bought a lot of property and basically made us bulletproof for, the recession. Which was pretty amazing. The Matthews, there is nothing, not even a street named after them, and they go back all the way back to they're part of the Frontenac clan, that includes a lot of historic families in town. There's almost too many to name, the Listers, the Bouchons, there's so many that are tied in with the Matthews.
they're from here, they lived here.
They're from here, they did, Tom Matthews, I saw his name separate, he's the one that built the Deepwater Saloon because all the immigrants that were working on the jetties were being excluded from the only saloon in town, so he built one on a schooner hull and drug it over to where they could drink, still be able to get drink after lifting rocks for 14 hours a day. And Matthews, Ted Matthews donated all the construction work to build the community center because he had a construction firm at the time. And, Gibbs, Cottages, that owner actually sold the property, gave the property, I think. He bought it in an auction from the sheriff, which kind of ties into the property adjoining the park. But, and then just Marcy did so much for the community and local church, and they've always been very tied into the community. When I first came here, Marcy Ward kind of took me in. She used to, introduce me as her other son. She has 2 sons. And so that family always made me feel like I was part of the community. Which is
Tell
great.
me again, what was the tie to the property itself with the sheriff?
So Spanny Gibbs bought the property that the community center is on in some type of sheriff's auction. And then he held on to it, but then he gave it to this group of people, individuals, that were boatmen to build this community park. And then Ted Matthews donated all the ground equipment and did all the groundwork to establish it. And then the boatmen built it. So, and then gave it to the city. They built it so they could have a place to do, the Tarpon Rodeo, which became the Deep Sea Roundup, have their awards and the pre-tournament activities. And it was used till it just got so big that they had to switch to the Civic Center.
So the, land that the, park is going on. Before Harvey, there was a cinder block structure on the property and Parks used it for storage. There was a computer center on one side, but prior to that, it was a jail.
The county jail.
And I don't know what it was prior to it being the county jail. Do you?
I don't, and that's, we're trying to talk about that. I'd have to kind of do a little research to find out what it was used before. And the other one I really like too is something, like Old Town Park, Old Town Memorial Park or something. And the reason why I like that is because we're really kind of in a desperate fight to save what's left of Old Town. And the developers would like to just mow right over it, and they get footholds in different places. And that's why we're doing this preservation, giving these historic property awards. We're trying to, give kudos to the people that are trying to keep some parts of Old Town, so we still have a little bit left of the original fishing village, that Port Aransas is. And I think that would kind of be a synergistic effect of, just calling attention, that this is Old Town and it is the heart and soul of the town.
That's
Yes.
considered Old Town?
Yeah, well, Old Town's kind of considered from, there's some bits and pieces of older property, but most of the oldest property is north of G Street, and a good portion of it is east of Allister, with the exception of a few places to the west, but very little of it goes past like Oleander. And a lot of those, but and then we have some of the original surveys, like the Roberts survey and the Brundrett survey. That actually had a big effect, those families owning those properties, because I can't remember what year it was, but way up into like 30s or 40s, Allister Street only went to Roberts and stopped right there, wasn't added and continued down the island until much later. So, those are the three things that kind of jump out at me. And of course the Matthews had read, I talked to Mackie and he had read your article and saw that you're kind of leaning toward not doing a name, but was considering doing one of the structures, naming the structures.
That's an option.
And they
And then
were,
we could do a recommendation. I wasn't trying to sway anybody. I was trying to explain that it wasn't a popularity contest. I wanted, because people kept saying, go vote for this name, go vote for this name. And I was saying, it's not a vote, like the most people to submit one name doesn't
Yeah.
win it. So I was just trying to kind of
and that's why I
slow
didn't
that
say
down a
anything.
little.
And I see, and there's other great names, and certainly we have some more recent people that were very involved in the town, that are still alive today. And of course, the Tellers, they're a historic family, some of the first people in the US Life Saving Station and some of the very first pilots, the Mercers. But but a lot, like the Mercers, they have a street, and they have an historic marker. So I was looking at that's one of the things that stood out about the Matthews is that there is nothing.
Mhm.
That's named after the Paul Matthews Park. That's a different Matthews with two T's. The ball field named after Mary Jo Brundrett's husband. The one across from the high school. That's the,
No, that was it. So I did try and compile, after the list of nominations, I tried to compile a list of everything I could think of that had a name on it so that we could look and, at that, but there probably is a lot that I missed. This was just the 20 things I could think of. And then I found an article from 2013 in the South Jetty that, our past mayor, Charles Bouillon, had listed families that should be considered as more streets are made. These were his recommendations, so I just thought I'd include that little blurb from the Jetty in here for your reference as well. I guess if we start with our discussion on how do you feel about it being named after a family? Do you feel like it should be named after a part of the community? Like Old Town, to me, describes number 3, the common usage identifying the neighborhood, a geographic location or common names that gives identity to a neighborhood. So I think that the Old Town, it fits that. An outstanding individual, group, or family that's, you know, the Matthews or the Gale Board in Munsell. So, you know,
And as
I
much-
just want to be able to justify it.
Yeah, as much as I like Gale Board and Munsell, I feel like, and first of all, that's a very lengthy name.
It's mouthful.
Yeah, it is, it's a mouthful, you know, because there's a Gale Borden picked in the Borden, you know, family line every generation, and that was just that generation. The most recent one was actually a girl. But, I think it'd be really great eventually to have a street named after him. You know, but, like, you know, that might be some type of parkway to something, but, you know, I lean more toward, Old Town Memorial Park or Old Town Park or the Matthews, you know, but
Well, the good thing is we get to say 3 of them. We don't have to do the final decision, so
yeah.
it makes our job a little bit
I
easier
like
here.
Old Town,
I like Old Town.
but it's so easy to name something after somebody, but people don't remember and they change names on parks and things all the time, family name, you know, that I just, they change names on streets, whatever's culturally going at that time, so a name like Old Town has no reason to be changed. I mean, that's what it's describing. It's a park in Old Town.
I like Old Town.
I like something that is inclusive, that everyone can feel like, you know, it's their space. Not that a name would exclude people, but I like the idea of it having the ability to honor more than one. The other thing I wanted to mention though is it doesn't necessarily have to say park at the end. A lot of these submissions said like a name and then community park after that. So I slashed that, or I censored anything that said community. I was like, sorry, I get that it's for the community, but we already have a community park and a community center. I don't want the name community in there. But it could be a green, it could be a square. it
Green
could
is
be-
one I like too.
Old Town Green.
So
It's not too green over there.
Are we gonna get enough
It's
green?
gonna be
it
nice.
should be,
Yeah.
there's a lot of grass, it's like a big lawn, basically, and then there's the, I should have had the rendering for our inspiration. I wonder if I have it.
I like square too.
Square's nice.
Yeah.
But the thought of, you know, when I think of squares, I think about gatherings within
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
I think about the old, you know, Mexican tradition, you know, the squares there were. The girls would walk one way and the single girls would walk one way and the single guys would walk the other way. It was kind of quaint.
Reminds me of high school.
You said they used to do the tarpon there?
The Tarpon Rodeo.
Yeah, that would be, someone suggested Tarpon Park. That's kind of cute. Something like
Tarpon
that.
Park is kind of cute. Dolphin Park doesn't seem to make even sense to me. I don't know why.
You can't see
People
dolphins
just
there.
love them. They're
I
just
have
charismatic
I
megafauna
have
that
an old one,
people
but
love.
it's not the final one. It's the one that we had before they moved the pavilion, I think.
I printed out ones for council, and I can't believe I don't have one.
And I think we could
I
make,
do.
we could make, you know,
That's better.
a lot of people happy by considering, we kind of, the main pavilion. Chase or slash stage, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, was kind of redesigned to look a little bit like Matthew's place. So that could be the title of that pavilion. We could suggest that if we decide to go with like Old Town Green or Old Town Park, and that might make a lot of people happy. It might be a good way to do it and, you know, provide opportunities for.
Of the Matthews.
Where is
was-
this? I was
Next
thinking
to
it's a community
the-
pool. No,
Next to the
No,
community
it's
center.
the Community center, the vacant lot
Where's the community center?
on Allister.
Right next to
That's
the
where you-
museum, which,
Where you vote?
Where you vote.
yeah,
Okay, okay. All right, oh, green,
That was-
it's green over there.
Well, it's gonna be, so we're
It's good.
putting in all of that.
I mean, it's green at the community center.
it's
Okay,
where
nice.
they've been
So
keeping all that
The
heavy.
community center and the museum have a nice little green square with the flowers in the middle.
Yeah,
To the left of that will
That's why-
be totally
Yeah.
redeveloped parking and green space with a
That-
shade amphitheater and then two smaller shade structures.
okay, yeah.
So
that's
those
definitely-
structures
That's not
could
Old Town.
have placards put on them. We are planning to use repurposed wood on the shade structures that was salvaged from historical buildings that were torn down in Port A. So
Is that gonna come from Corky?
yeah. So I don't know what structure they'll come from. The engineers and the contractors need to look at the size of wood and. So I don't know for sure that, one building is gonna be used. It might be a mixture, but I do want there to be some historical interpretation done. For whatever we do reuse. I want there to be a placard or a panel somewhere that explains what it was and, I
That placard
want
out.
there to be a historical component to this because. Of the proximity to the museum and,
Yeah, and we're thinking about that, how we could facilitate that and what can be done, like. If we can, on like the path that connects, if there's some way we can do some type of informational thing, so when the museum's closed. They could get a little taste of history. I don't know if we could do like small signs or if we could do something. That they can pick up on their phone or something, I don't know, we'll have to figure out what our options are, but we've definitely be willing to work with you. And I also think if we really want to get ownership in of the community into, we might consider, doing something with bricks and, and getting families do some mass thing where the connecting walkway, we can give people an opportunity to buy a brick or do something, get their names,
well,
something.
we awarded the contract already, and so I don't know if pavers. I don't know if there's space, I don't, know. You know how the brick program, you pull one and you put one,
Yeah.
I don't know if we have. Pavers in there to pull, we need to look at that, we could do a change order if we need to.
Just that, I know that when they did that walkway in front of the Tarpon Inn, everybody did their handprints and those things were added that really. Pulled the community into that project. Just thought this might be an opportunity. Cause sometimes it's hard to get the attention of the community unless something controversial is going on.
I hope that they did pavers to match, I need to look at that though.
But you
Good
can
note, good
understand why community, you don't want community in the name of the park. Cause it just,
It is for the community, I don't want anyone to get that
Right.
wrong, I don't want this to be taken out of context.
no.
But there's already so much confusion about
That's what I
civic
mean.
center and community center, just because the word center. So we should name it Center Park.
Yeah,
And then there's the community park is really
Yeah,
where the pool
so-
is.
It's just,
right.
and then the other thing is, the parks really have a lot of amenities. They have playgrounds and athletic facilities. And so going with square or green sets an expectation that there's not a pool there, there's not a playground, there's not a dog park. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
I
that idea.
agree.
so I liked Old Town Founders Park. I thought founders was a unique word that honors all the families that made Port A what it is today, and you could have little placards that explain, the history of the founding families, and so I liked that word. I thought it was unique.
Yeah, that's,
Um,
actually, I like that too.
And then Preservation Park was another one that stood out that I felt like was a nod to the history. Has nice alliteration, Preservation Park. And then this person wrote Matthews Lookout at Preservation Park, so somebody picked up on, well, you could have the pavilion be Matthews Lookout at Old Town Green or whatever. So we can mix and match as well. But I liked the words preservation, I liked the words founders, I thought those sounded nice.
Yeah, I like both of those. I like, Like the Old Town Founders Park
I like that too.
or Founders.
You could swear,
I was
Square.
thinking square.
Under
Yeah.
Square.
Yeah, squares is, but
Uh-huh.
being an old timer,
And I
Just
like
being old.
the lookout. You know,
it should be named after me.
32 is the Matthews Lookout at Preservation Park.
I like that one too.
Did anyone pick up on, oh, did I not include it? Oh, yeah, I did. Number 40, Parky McPark face. I don't know if that
Yes.
speaks to anybody, but I had to include it. Somebody was humorous. Wouldn't that be something if we suggested that? to council? Like I said, they don't have to go with anything we suggest. They could just take it as inspiration, create their own name if they want their. The almighty council, they can do what they want.
Yeah, I know there's at least a couple people that really on the council that are pushing for the Old Town
Okay,
being in the name, so. So if we include that as one of the choices, I think that'd be good.
that Old Town Road country song pops into my head when I
Mhm.
say Old
Yeah.
Town Park. John, you're kind of quiet over there. Do
So,
you have
so
any-
the three and would be Matthews, I'm sorry, Old Town Founders Square. Is that correct?
It's an idea. We haven't made an official motion or anything
Oh,
yet.
okay,
I like it. I think we all agree on that one, right?
I think so.
Mark that one in.
It's gonna get unofficially shortened to Old Town Park, even if we name it Old Town Founders Square.
Hmm.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it
So
is.
people are gonna call it Old Town Park. Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
I can
or,
see it.
maybe if we just get them say Old Town
Old Town
Square, and they might do that. That's where we make the founders as a component, I think. It'll stand on the sun when they go. see
So
it.
is that historically appropriate when we're talking about the founders of Port Aransas? Were they all within the Old Town boundary, or are we,
Oh, yeah.
that's
I would say
okay
so,
to
yeah.
have, okay,
Yeah, I don't think anybody was out of the Old Town boundary
okay.
for such a long time, all the way up to like 1919. You know, most of the town was centered right around the harbor and didn't radiate very far from it. Matter of fact, Gilboa Munsell was the first one to really start developing further south and further away from the harbor. And that's like my house on Station Street's part of the properties he bought. Cause he recognized that the water intrusion during a storm on north end of the island was dramatic.
yeah,
Plus, that was also part of the drainage, natural drainage of the island, still is today.
yeah.
Although we're altering it.
What if they, so we have, what do you want, if Matthews was included in the park name, what would the full name sound like? Matthews Park, Matthews Green, Matthews Square?
I like it is a big mouthful, Matthews Lookout at Preservation Park. Or we could do them separately. We could do Matthews Lookout. Well, that's,
So we're thinking two different things. This one complicates it a little bit because they're assuming that they're naming the pavilion, which we haven't been tasked with. I think we can recommend that to council and say, we'd like to name the property Preservation Park, and we'd like to consider you naming the shade structures, the main one being Matthews Lookout and the other two for other founding families, and we can make a recommendation or not. But I think our recommendation from the board for the property name would be just the Preservation Park with
I like that.
an add-on that please consider naming the buildings, whatever we
yeah,
recommend.
and yeah, I would be specific. Let's go ahead and say that we'd like to name the main structure Matthews. Either Lookout or Matthews Place was the name of the actual structure that some of the architecture of that sage structures came from, so.
Okay.
That would,
That
that
makes
would,
sense.
so that would make sense, cause it kind of, it kind of, draws attention to the old architecture of, Matthews Place, which is really just down this, 2 blocks further down the street.
Mhm.
Mhm, that
I
makes
was
sense.
looking at that in historical photos and the shape of the shingles on that building is really cool. And so I'm gonna see what we can do about possibly, finding something similar if possible. All right, so where are we now? So we have a recommendation for Old Town Founders Square. Another one for Preservation Park,
Mhm.
and we have, do we want to go with a third one that has Matthews in the name, or are we all feeling like Matthews would just be better on the structure of the pavilion?
I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Especially if you have plaques or explanation of the family. Like the one out in Charlie's pasture, that little thing that sits there by the pavilion that has, it explains why it's called Charlie's pasture.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good.
So that means we have room for a third. Park
We
name.
don't have Old Town in there, do we have those first two?
Right now, I have in my notes Preservation Park and Old Town Founders Square, which I'm still thinking is a mouthful. Part of me wants to split it up and call it Old Town Square
Old on Green
or Old Town Green or Founders.
When we
Square.
make that our third option is a different version of that
yeah.
same name. And we could just call it Old Town, like. Old Town Square better than Green, but
Yeah,
for some reason, I don't know why.
yeah.
Well, it gives me some leeway if I kill the grass. It
Yeah.
won't be-
Otherwise, they'll
If
be,
we go into stage 3 drought restriction.
that's true. So let's make
Founders
the,
Green, Founders Square, and Old Town Square. Split them up.
let's make our third one Old Town Square.
What's your second one? I'm confused now.
So we have Old Town Founders Square, which we agreed on, which is a mouthful.
That's why I'm saying maybe we rethink that one.
Or we can, we could give them two versions of that same one. Unless you can think of a third thing that we're omitting that you really like, but
Harpin was mentioned.
Harpin Square. So in other words, leave out founders.
I like the word, but I feel like it's a
Did-
mouthful.
Like you said earlier, people would include founders when they were talking about.
We could say Old Town Square with, but we want to. We could say Old Town Square, we'd like to name the main structure after the Matthews, and we'd like the option of adding other families and like shade structures. And in historic markers of some sort.
Those historic, I'm envisioning like, trail side, interpretive panels, and I don't think we would even have to go to council for that. I think that that would be programming that they would leave up to the Parks Department, so I could see that happening real easily.
Sure.
There's the Marlin, so I think the back of the shade structure is going to have the new city logo, which is a Marlin. So the Marlin name is on number 30.
I think there's enough stuff named Marlin. We see Marlin enough in the school. I don't mind Tarpon because that was the name of the town until 1915.
And I just removed the Tarpon statue from the front of the Civic Center.
So I wouldn't mind that, that would be okay too, if we ended up shortening the one with Old Town.
Where'd that statue go?
we have it at Farley Boat
We
Works.
moved it to Farley Boat.
And I've talked with several people about, I've got a couple of concrete guys that are hopefully gonna give us an idea of how we can keep it from going over.
Okay. Founders Heritage Park, Founders Park number 19.
I think Founders Heritage Park is a mouthful again.
Yeah, well, and then there's a heritage park in Corpus Christi, the, where those historic homes are.
Flip flop. Yeah, and well, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing two versions of Old Town if we can't come up with something that doesn't really strike all of us. And gives them an option of a shorter or longer name, the other, there's nothing really that grabs me other than Tarpon. But
What? I think it's the Charles list. is
that's
all
funny,
I
somebody
use.
put Museum Park. Phyllis Lane Caps.
I can tell you, so I didn't print out the whole spreadsheet because it was overwhelming. But I can read to you the reason why somebody nominated someone. It's hers, so I can
And
read
I
it to you.
don't think we'll ever see a Spoonbill or a Sandpiper or a Pelican in that spot.
So it says Phyllis was an absolute force of nature for the city of Port Aransas. She was a treasured member of the community and her beloved church and theater. She supported. Sorry. She supported every endeavor of the Marlins, raised countless thousands of dollars every year for Relay for Life, and personally made every single thing she did fun. She was the very best of Port Aransas.
It's quite. The only thing I don't like about Tarpon Park is the Tarpon Inn is only a block and a half away. And that could cause some confusion and mapping and people trying to find it.
What was the deep sea roundup called the Tarpon Rodeo?
Yes,
Because someone said Tarpon Rodeo.
yeah, from 1932 to about 1964. And some years it was called both. Some years they did them separately. As the Tarpon numbers started thinning, they started looking at alternatives. Then eventually just thought there wasn't enough Tarpon to keep calling it the Tarpon Rodeo. And of course, by the 60s, we had faster boats that could go further out and more species could be added to the contest. But initially it was really just Tarpon.
It's if whatever we present to council, let's say just that our first recommendation is Old Town Founder Square, right? And then the second would be the Matthews Lookout at
Preservation Park.
or we have the second was Preservation Park,
Mhm.
right? And then the Matthews Lookout. And then the third, if we went back to and shortened it or say a Founder's Green, I mean, what it sounds like is all of us are agreeing. And I like the way Cliff presented it, and that would also accompany our suggestion to the council about its founders. We're really not stuck, but really strong opinion that it should be Founders Park or Founders Square or Founders Green or Founders Preservation Park to honor the founders of Old Town.
Mhm.
That's as you said, it's inclusive. It recognizes kind of all of the founders of Old Town.
Mhm.
Well, I was wondering if you could do Old Town Square as one nomination and Founders Green or Founders Park or Founders Square as a separate one.
Mhm.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't wanna be, I don't wanna be repetitive in our nominations,
Mhm.
cause I feel like if they wanna tweak and combine or rearrange, they could. So I
Mhm.
wanna make sure they're getting all the ones we like in there. You could do Old Town Green or Founders Square, and then they could. Or Founders Green. Maybe we don't like green.
I like green.
I like green.
I like green.
A square a lot of times is, I always think of the,
Like shopping. like courthouse.
Think of a
yeah,
gazebo.
courthouse.
Yeah.
The square is always the,
To me, Old Town Green sounds better than Founders Green. I don't know if it's like the cadence of it.
It might be,
Old Town Green and Founders Square.
yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense that way.
And then they can kind of mix and match whatever council feels like, but at least all the words we like are in the nomination.
and number two, would it be just Preservation Park or would it be Matthews Lookout Preservation?
Well, maybe we leave that as the third one, and then the next sentence in our recommendation is. We'd like you to consider naming the pavilion Matthews Lookout, and then we could say. So it would be Matthews Lookout at Preservation Park as an example.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be fine. Cause it could fit really on any of them.
Mhm.
I'd be okay with that. So some other nods.
Yep, I like those
Does that
options.
sound good to you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, let's do that.
Do we have a motion? Do we need a motion or just a recommendation?
Say it clearly so the votes.
I'm looking that we have, okay, for first one, Founders Green. And the second one. No, yeah,
Yeah.
Founders Green,
Old
no,
Town
Founders
Green.
Square, right?
Founders Square.
Founders Square, the
Old
next
Town
one would be
Green.
Old Town Green. And the third one would be Preservation Park with the consideration to adding Matthews Lookout
As the name of the pavilion.
as the name of the pavilion. On any of the options, do we want to say
Yeah.
that? On any of the above options.
Okay,
I second that.
Thomas seconded. All in favor? Aye,
Hi.
opposed, no opposed. All right.
Thank
Great-
you, guys.
great
That is
job.
not an easy thing to do, and there's a
No.
lot of weight in this that, we're suggesting something for perpetuity.
So just to make sure I have it, it's Old Town Green and then Founders Square.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Yes.
I like those.
I think it gives them
Well-
a good starting point.
A big thanks to the community too for their creativity and thoughtfulness in all of these nominations. We didn't have the reasoning behind all of these, but I did get to read them and people put a lot of heart and thought into this, so I'm very appreciative.
Yeah, I think there's really a lot of excellent suggestions there. I'm just that certain ones, as from my historic perspective, jumped out, but there's a lot of families and I like the idea of recognizing all of them and giving them an opportunity to do more education on it. And it kind of times in well with the next exhibit's gonna be historic families and characters, so we can do a lot, we can transfer a lot of that information that we'll be putting down. We can use that to make whatever we decide as far as like.
Yeah, so timeline of this, council awarded the contract to Mako Construction. And they have 120 days to complete it, so. 4 months from now, we should have a park.
That is.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think it would take longer just to get the utility lines moved.
They're doing that right now.
Really?
Yeah.
And when does the road
AEP is
come up?
doing that. It depends on when the contractor, puts the tasks in order. I don't know if they're gonna use that as a staging area or if it'll get ripped up right away, but technically it's already closed, so,
Well,
yeah.
See, and I always thought it'd be great to do Church Street. In like some type of walkway. That, kind of connects the restaurants and with the museum and in this new park. Yeah, we could do it, kind of light it old style. There's more we can do from this too, that it's kind of
Yeah,
exciting.
and kind of set the tone for how we want, Main Street or Church Street to look.
And we might be able to get into the Main Street program with the Texas Historic Commission, and
Well,
some of that.
so the city has a firm looking at street beautification right now. That's currently, that project is underway, and so, they're looking at pedestrian access to all of our main thoroughfares, looking at how to beautify those areas, and so it all ties in nicely.
Very nice.
All right.
Good job, team. I was worried about that one.
I could tell.
All right, next, item on the list is to discuss budget wish list for the June budget workshop.
So, just to give you an overview of our, the way the city budgets. In summertime, usually middle of June, they have a council goals workshop. So all the departments from the whole city bring a wish list together to council to say, this is what our department needs, and council, refines that over the next few months. September, a budget is finalized, and then October, those funds become available to spend, and you've got to spend them before the end of the next September or re-budget for that item, which some of my projects that are taking too long will have to be rebudgeted. But now is a good time to start talking about things that you'd like to see in the parks that cost more than $5,000 as a capital outlay. If it's something like we'd like to see the Parks Department in better uniforms or something like that, that's just like a smaller line item that I can make a note of. But the big capital outlays, the big projects, we want to start talking about those now, so that by June I have cost estimates and a good idea of what I'm presenting for the budget workshop. So this is your chance to share your wish list, your hopes and dreams for.
Are there things that
Parks and
you
Rec.
have a wish list about that we might need to know about?
I honestly have not had a lot of time to reflect on it because of the big capital projects that we've got going on already with the playground and the rec center and this park. Those occupy a lot of my time and energy. But I've asked all the department heads to start their wish list. So like the pool improvements, I know that's gonna be one of the big ticket items. Vehicles are always a big ticket item. They're less of a big ticket item now because of how we're using enterprise. So I don't have a
What about
ton.
storage? Cause I know trying to find a place for those boats was a issue, is there? Do you need like on location storage in some places that you don't have, or
There is a plan for an improved maintenance facility for grounds. It's drawn up and we were kind of waiting on the rec center. That sewer line needs to be in place for a maintenance facility. And so that facility is like 5 or 6 garage bays, a break room, some office space, and some covered outdoor storage and indoor storage with maybe a loft. So that is something that we've discussed needing, mainly because the police station's parking area was gonna encroach on where the grounds are operating out of now, the grounds crew. And so they had to hurry up and say like, oh, well, if they lose their existing facility, where are they gonna go? So we have that planned, but that's something that we should budget for. I don't see it starting before the end of this fiscal year, so that should be on the list.
and I know we talked about including some type of dog park at the new location down, further down the Allen Road. But I don't know if that's budgeted in, we'll need chain link, but I'd like to see that on the wish list, that we definitely include a safe place for people to take their dogs in that park.
So that is nature preserve and they have their own advisory board.
Oh, okay,
So,
so
I
it
need-
would be part of the nature preserve system, not
right, so
at
that,
the park, with the one that's gonna be way
the
down.
33 acres by the water tower is nature preserved.
Okay,
We had talked about all the other nature preserve sites are, you can't have pets at them. The reasoning behind that is it's been documented that trails that allow pets repel wildlife. Basically, if your pets
that
are
makes sense.
using the facilities on the trail, it pushes wildlife further away. And so I feel like the nature preserve is their board is gonna need to discuss access to that site because we're presenting it as a paddling access site, which you can't paddle anywhere in our existing nature preserve sites. So it opens up the opportunity to amend some of our existing nature preserve goals for this specific location. So if we're allowing people to hunt and fish from this site, which we don't allow in the nature preserve, would they be allowed to bring dogs as well? If they're going duck hunting or whatever from the location, do we modify the pet rule
for just that location.
for that location because we're already going to modify it for paddling access and
Right.
boating?
Well, then that would be
So
okay. I
that's
guess
kind of where the
if,
dog thing came in for that location.
Okay. Well, that would be okay too.
What about smoking?
Are you a smoker? Um,
Are you a
I-
smoker?
I smoke a pipe. I don't have a problem with
Okay.
cigarettes,
that's very
banning cigarettes to the bottom.
academic of you. I don't think smoking will be something we add in as a modification. Didn't we just discuss that? And
Yes,
when
we
talking
did.
about
I think
park
we did,
rules, we
yeah.
were very much.
They
like,
restricted
moving
it to the parking
areas,
lots,
yes.
I picked up some smokers when I was doing my runs and boy, and I guess the wind was just blowing it right back. Into the driver's seat, but.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm saying is in regards to that 33 acres. I guess the Parks Board, we technically do cover everything as I supervise the nature preserve manager. I just feel like the dog discussion is gonna need to be had by their advisory board. I'm not sure the official chain of command and how we do that though.
What about bathrooms at the new? On the road to Charlie's pasture there, the new pier there.
So I do have grant funding for a vault toilet at the Charlie's Pasture Pier. It's part of this restore grant that is, the timing of it is the oddest grants I've ever worked with. They are working on the nature preserve improvements first. And because they got $1 million to do nature preserve improvements through the same agency. And I have 263,000 for fishing pier enhancements. But they haven't said a peep to me about it. Like the nature preserve grant, they're meeting weekly about that grant. And their council has not officially approved the fishing pier one. So we have it, but we don't know anything about the timeline of
What do
it.
you mean by vaulted?
Just a
It
big.
means not
pit
attached to sewer.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
What-
somebody has to come and,
Pump it.
It's
Yeah.
pumped out, yeah. It's the same restroom style we have at the traffic circle down on Port Street.
okay.
When I was a park ranger, I pumped a lot of those.
Oof.
A lot of fun.
I bet.
Nobody eats lunch with you when you come back.
And you probably don't want any lunch.
Well, the Public Works Beach crew, they do that all the way down
Oh.
the beach on those porta potties. I give those guys a lot of kudos. That is not a glamorous job.
And they were working hard, plus I guess they hired somebody.
I can imagine.
Cause Sam Fest, there was a lot of people.
We are on a pretty big tangent though. So restrooms at Charlie's Pasture Pier. It is part of a grant, but for some reason, so the other thing that those came up in is the team that is doing the street beautification also did a design concept for the whole Port Street bulkhead, turning that into a park. And doing a lot of planting, adding irrigation, like really enhancing that whole area. And so there were restrooms at the pier in that rendering as well. So if the grant for some reason falls through, I mean, they're taking years. It's the craziest grant I've ever gotten. But I'm to the point where I could just say, you know, thanks for considering us. You can keep your money and we'll just budget it through city funds. I hate to turn down $263,000, but if they're gonna keep our hands tied and we're never gonna actually get the money, or it's gonna be several years down the road, we might just wanna move forward without it. It's an option. So I'll keep the restrooms on the wish list, and depending on how the grant goes, the funding could come from different areas, I
I
guess.
noticed they got the sea turtle nets on the piers now.
Was there signage to go with them?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
I
That
don't know
was
how long
another-
those locks are gonna last though. They were rusting pretty good. When I was-
it's something I can talk to them about. Okay, anything else?
Are they replacing that little slide at the kids pool, at the pool?
That is a great wish list item. They're way more expensive than you think they would be, so that would need to be a capital outlay. But yeah, we could put that on our list.
The little kids did have a lot of fun with that.
The other thing at the pool is the big slides are either gonna need extensive repairs or replacement. That's coming.
Do they get used a lot? I mean, I know
One
that
is always closed though. The big one is never open every time I go. Just,
They're indefinitely closed right now
Oh.
because of some of the things. The auditor didn't find them. We actually found them before the audit, but there was some damage to the supports on that slide, so it's closed indefinitely until it needs either a welder to do serious repairs or it needs to be replaced. We're
what's the
collecting
material that's,
estimates on that,
what is the material?
powder coated steel.
Powder coated steel. So just a regular one.
And that slide went through Harvey, and I think some of the stuff might be damage that went unnoticed from Harvey because of this nature of some of the coupling is like cracked.
they do get used a lot though.
Yes.
Well, I think slides are important. Since they can't dive from a diving board anymore, it's nice to have other options, you know, to help the kids, you know, stay interested, wear them down a little bit.
And they always come up with new products too, like there's the rock walls, there's zip lines, there's all kinds of. I get spam emails from all, you know, the different types of commercial products that you could put in there, so we could. If we were to take down the big slides, we could do one big slide on a rock wall, or we could. That's what we're trying to get pricing on, what everything's gonna cost, so the next meeting I could present you with some more options, but.
Yeah.
Once I know more about that.
I know those are important because they help, you know, the park be more usable as for events, you know, like.
Birthday
people rent
parties
it.
are super popular at the pool. We
Yeah.
are.
I just
we
had
have-
one yesterday.
Oh,
My
perfect.
daughter.
It's the perfect thing.
Yeah.
You pay
Yeah,
a certain amount of money
Easy.
and everything's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a great thing.
One of the concepts that came up in discussion of the rec center was party rooms. And that's not something that we've traditionally done, except at the pool, we have all these birthday parties. And so that's something that other rec centers do, but they didn't make it into the square footage of ours because we had to cut in some places. But an idea of cabanas, like bringing shade structures out to the pool that you could rent and you can have your party just under one cabana. was an idea everybody kind of liked. And I think Aransas Pass uses that model. You can rent an area of the pool for your party.
Would it be attached to the pool or, you know,
It would be
outside?
on the pool deck. It would be like a shade structure that had picnic tables under it that you could rent. And there might be simultaneous events going on at the same time, like maybe there's 3 of them.
Cause I know they've
Something
always
like that.
been kept, you know, all the food and drink outside. So
Yeah,
if you did it on the deck, that would be a different issue.
yeah. One of the things is if we take down the existing locker rooms and pool house, there might be an expanded real estate for more pool decks, so maybe they're further back and there's like a waist high fence or something that, you know, you don't take food and drink past a certain barricade or something like that.
Is the Robert Point Park playground gonna have a water feature?
There is a line item in the budget for like a spray feature. It's not going to be as elaborate as the splash park that we have. It's been presented kind of like a cooling station, so maybe it's
I
like a
know.
loop that has some mist that you walk through or something like that, but just
Okay.
a real basic feature that will probably not have like a recirculating filtration system or anything like that. It'll just be out of a water line
Mhm.
and mist, so it'll kind of evaporate and dry off. It won't have a drain or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, any cooling is good.
I think so. Well, a splash pad out there has always scared me because I feel like it's so multi-use. I'd be afraid that people would be washing their hands and cleaning fish and stuff in like a traditional splash pad. So I think just an element of water that's kind of more of a like a cooling feature, hopefully will have less room for abuse
Mhm.
than like a full-on splash pad. And then we also, in the master plan, had like an interactive, maybe architectural water feature at the points. Or it could be anywhere in the park. It's just a concept in the master plan, but like Charleston, downtown Charleston, there's a big fountain that at one point kids would just play in it, and then I think they expanded it and made it into a splash park, but less of an aquatic facility and more of like a decorative water feature that if people want to get wet, they can get wet, but it's not a true splash pad. I think we'll do better out there.
Cool.
All right. So safe to say, any other ideas for big budget items, get those to you quickly.
Yeah, that would be
Alright.
great. You can email me photos of stuff you've seen at other places, or if you wake up with an idea at 2 a.m., just shoot an email over.
All right. Next item is any considerations from board members for items for future, or consideration of future items.
I think we should talk next meeting. Time,
Okay,
if that's not already an agenda item.
And I'd also like to keep throwing out, because I get a lot of feedback from people at the dog park about possibility of either an expansion or another location or
That's a
something.
busy dog park.
Mhm.
It's sometimes there's so
harbor-
many people.
The new harbor has a dog park. It's not very big, and I don't know exactly what it looks like, but there is a dedicated dog park in the new harbor improvements.
Hmm.
So you are getting one. You already got one, but we can do more.
I would hate to wait for that, yeah, because for that to happen, because
No,
So-
it already happened. It's out there.
what do you mean?
In the new harbor master office and pavilion.
Oh, that's, I
Rehab.
thought you meant the new harbor
Oh,
that
That's a
Davis
marina.
done.
No.
Marina, okay, so the new harbor has a,
There is a new dog park in town.
really?
Yes. I don't know when they're officially done with all their landscaping and everything, but in that improvement, there is a dedicated dog park.
But it's probably pretty small down
It
there.
is small. I haven't laid eyes on it yet. But there is a.
can't be too
dedicated-
big. Yeah.
one dog at a time.
Yeah, but, yeah, cause I think
We'll have to
that
go
probably
look at
was
it.
more for the liveaboards that have dogs.
Yes.
And I think that's a great idea, but because it does, sometimes there's 25, 30 dogs and the associated owners in that park, and it gets pretty crazy. And it'd be nice, I know that some people just think about that, if there was another location or a
I
third,
feel like this one at the marina is like a place to take your dog potty. Whereas if you want your dog to like go run, they're
Yeah.
still gonna come over to the community park.
most of the people that I see, they want them to go to the bathroom, and a lot of times, once they do, they take them out, but they also want them to run.
Yeah.
And some people go every day just because they know if they run their dogs there, they'll be much more easier to live with when they bring them home.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is in our purview to, and it's kind of a personal experience having volunteered for a couple of weeks in the office. I noticed that. I don't know, I guess I should ask if staffing is any kind of advisory committees. Not authority, but thinking you,
Suggestions?
you need a person that's a gatekeeper, a door, the gatekeeper at the door.
I have been thinking about the rec center and the reception desk that will be at the rec center.
Yeah.
The rec center, people call that the control desk. So I'm assuming that we're gonna hire staff to work that, and so
Yeah.
it will. Hopefully, we'll just kind of limp by until we have a rec center with a space for them, cause I can't see. Adding another person to the building I currently have.
That
I
makes
feel like
sense
it's
too, yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
What's the
We're gonna-
timeline
but-
on the new rec center? Like you having a.
So when we awarded the contract to Janak for design, they said 18 months. I
Just
feel
for the
like that,
design phase?
no, for
Okay,
construction and everything, because they're doing construction administration and everything for the project. So I feel like that was ambitious, but a year out, maybe,
Year to start,
from here.
to break ground, and then another year and a half. to
Well, they were
complete it.
saying 6 months for design completion and the year for construction. But I feel like we're already, I think we awarded, I think we're hitting the 6 month mark now, so
Are they close to breaking ground?
no, that's what I'm saying. I think
Okay,
It's,
the design
Further
time
out,
is gonna take.
yeah.
There's no reason why it couldn't be done in a year, if you get enough construction,
yeah, well,
if the crews are big enough.
my guess is they're gonna get us a rendering of what it looks like. As far as like the initial layout, and then they're really gonna have to jump into. All the construction drawings and everything, I mean, it's gonna be another. I don't know, I'll ask them for an updated timeline. and I'll
So once
back
you
to
get all the plans completed,
Yeah.
I guess they bring them to you, and then you look at it and see what kind of change orders. And who does that? Is it just you, or is it you and Dave and Parsons, or is it?
Thus far, it's been me and David in the preliminary site visits and things like that. Once we have a rendering, I'd like to give it to you, and then I have a list of stakeholders that were involved in the open space master plan, like the school and other athletic groups and things like that, and so I would like to send it out to everyone for feedback. We were hesitant to get too many stakeholders involved too soon, because we didn't want it to be this like grandiose brainstorm session, then everyone's ideas get cut. So we kind of wanted to have something on
Basic plan.
paper and say, what do you think about this? Oh, we'd like to add a classroom, or we'd like to remove the party room or whatever, so that there was something to discuss as opposed to just
Yeah.
everyone's wild ideas or amazing ideas.
I know those blue sky meetings can be.
Yeah,
Can
we
we
were
go all
trying to keep it a
different
little bit
directions?
more efficient than that.
how big is it gonna be?
25,000 square feet is the number right now.
It's nice size.
Yeah,
Good,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's-
and we've talked about an indoor walking track. It really adds on a second story, that elevator and stairs and extra height in the roof is expensive. And so I believe the architects are going to draw it as if we have one. And it'll be a deductive alternate, like if council sees the final price and says, guys, we have to cut, this is too much. It would be an item that could be removed from the plan.
Do you have to have a elevator to upstairs?
ADA
walking?
accessibility. Yeah, kind of strange, because
It's a walking track.
Yeah,
it has to be accessible to all,
Yeah, but it could be a wheelchair track too.
right?
Mhm.
Or a
See that?
stroller if mom
Stroller
wants
moms, right.
strollers or,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be accessible, what's important.
And of course, we have all these wonderful trails, the walking and strolling
And the beach,
just
and,
a
yeah,
few steps away, so.
Yeah.
I could see that being an option. I think
Mhm.
that's a good way to do it.
All right, any other considerations for future meetings? Oh,
What
time.
time
to make-
works best for everybody.
This is fine for me.
I'm fine with this time as long as it's a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Yeah,
Mondays are hard for me, but I can do it.
It's usually my only day off.
So you don't wanna,
Yeah,
you
so
want a full day off, don't you?
I would like it, yeah, so. Tuesdays are really great, Wednesdays are great.
We've been going on Mondays for a very long time, so I would just need to check with the availability of other standing meetings in the council chambers.
Nature Preserve is usually on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Airport's usually on Wednesdays. Council, of course, is on Thursdays.
So if we wanted to,
Who's on Tuesdays?
Nature Preserve.
they
usually-
meet really
usually-
infrequently though.
Yeah. I mean,
So we
everyone
could do it
meets
on the
usually like every 3 months, but unless there's something going on.
As we get into tournament season.
I mean, it's
Mondays
honestly
usually
whenever
recuperation
everyone
day.
can get together.
We could schedule something now, or we could wait until we have rec center renderings or the next stage of the playground, or like if I have something that is exciting to share and we wanna discuss together, I could wait until that happens and then see if everyone's available for a meeting. It gets a little bit risky because schedules get full if I do it that way. It's nice to have something down to say, put it on your calendar, but if you want to wait for something to trigger it, I would like to probably meet one more time before mid-June so that we can solidify the budget a little bit better. Like end of May or beginning of June.
Put in my calendar.
I'm sorry, Colleen said the what? Did you give a date in May?
Well,
I said end of May or beginning of
Okay.
June. So I was looking at like May 21st, 28th. I'm looking at Tuesdays, June 4th.
June 4th works for me. Is that too close? Are you too
No,
close?
I think the council goals workshop is usually right in the middle of June. So if we met early June, it would be like one last time to make sure our wish list is where we want it before it goes to that workshop.
Do we need
Okay.
to make it like the 28th? Is June, or do you think that's adequate time?
I'm out of town the 20,
You're what?
out of town.
Out
I can
of-
do the 21st or June 4th.
I'm okay with either. The 21st is in a month from now.
I should be, I'll be back. I'm in Reno that weekend before, but I should be back Monday. Is it, do you have a preference as far as what you need to do? Is because fourth might,
Not really. There's so much going on right now that I know I'll have updates for you guys, so.
I like the fourth. If there's the list, you need it to be earlier.
No, let's go for it. June 4th at 2 p.m.
Perfect.
Okay.
just because I'll be flying out of Austin. So when I get back that weekend. So I'm going up to, for my daughter's PhD, so,
Ooh, that's exciting.
yeah, it's very exciting.
All right. And without objection, any accepting a motion to adjourn? Cliff, second? Amanda?
Third, what do I say? Second?
Second, yeah. So adjourn at 3:50.
Perfect. Got time to make the peace sign.
Is that today?
It's
Earth
today.
Day. Oh,
Yep,
happy
starts-
Earth Day, guys.
Yeah, they start forming it, I guess, or you're supposed to meet at 4, but they're not taking a picture till 5.
Oh,
So I'm
Where?
not sure what we're gonna do for an south of the pier.
Nice.
Everything worked out.
I did one of the years, but I've only done it once or twice.
I've only done it once. I missed last year. And maybe I've done it twice.
So, whoa, this is a preliminary drawing that's since been changed a bunch.
Okay.
But if you look at this,
Cool.
this will probably be on the top of a hill. Right here. So this is a 10-foot elevation, like land ramp,
Mm-hmm.
and then the lighthouse will sit on top of it. And then there will be playground features in this lower area with some landscaping. But everything's like super preliminary and changes, I feel like on a weekly basis, so I don't have an official thing to